Okay, so what I am going to do is introduce Sue. If you do have questions for her, we'll try to keep those at the end of her presentation as well. If you would like, the best way is to put those in the chat. If you are unable to put in the chat, of course, muting your mic will work. I'm going to just share a little bit about Sue because many of you know her, but just to get a better understanding of who she is, Sue is very active in the Phoenix Jewish community. Currently, she serves as the chair of the Phoenix APAC Council and the pro-Israel political chair. She's also on the board of the Phoenix Jewish Community Relations Council, the JCRC, many of you might know it as such, the Greater Phoenix Jewish Film Festival Board, and the Jewish Community Foundation Allocations Committee. So clearly, even in our own community, she gives of her time. And today, what she is going to speak about is how she gives of her time for Israel and for our country, Israel, and its army and defending itself. And I don't profess to know much about this, and I'm very appreciative that Sue is giving of her time and sharing about Sar-El and the organization that really is about national volunteering for the land of Israel. So without further introduction, and Sue, if I miss something, feel free to go ahead and fill in those blanks.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Rabbi. Welcome, everybody. It's really nice to see you. I want to tell you about Sar-El. It's also known as Volunteers for Israel. And just to give you a little background, Israel is the only country that allows foreigners to come in to volunteer for their army. It was started back in 1983 by an Israeli general named Aroni Davidi in the aftermath after the First Lebanon War. Since then, they have channeled 150,000 volunteers from all over the world and 35 countries who pay their own way to fly there to work on the Army bases. Plus, we also have to pay a $100 fee to be on the base. And we have to find our own arrangements for the weekend. So we work on the base Sunday through Thursday after lunch, and then we're on our own and we have to report back on Sunday morning to a central bus or train station. We work as civilian volunteers performing routine logistical and maintenance work on the bases. By the volunteers doing this, we're freeing up the Israeli soldiers for more serious duties like patrolling the borders. This way, with the volunteers coming in, the Israeli military can call up fewer reservists, thus disrupting fewer Israeli lives. And while we're on the program, we get field trips to museums. We get taken to special memorial sites of Israelis that have died serving their country. And we also get programs every evening to learn about the Army and learn different facets about Israel. And I'll tell you how I found out about the program. So in 2010, my daughter wanted to go to Israel, but she didn't want to do a youth group trip. So she heard about this program called Sar-El, and she was 17, and they said, oh, she'll be fine, she can go, and on the weekends she'll find some place to sleep. And I was like, I'm not going to let my 17-year-old wander around Israel and find some place to sleep. So my husband said that I had to go with her. Now, mind you, my idea of camping is a Ritz-Carlton, so this was a little bit of a stretch because, as you'll see, I'll show you pictures of what our accommodations look like and what the food looks like. So this was really big. I brought my hair dryer. I don't wear makeup, but for me, this was a big departure. I've gone for 8 times, worked on 4 different bases. I've worked on a base called Matzlach Beersheva, where we sorted tools that the US government gives to Israel, sorting them by sizes. I worked at another base doing a lot of painting, worked at a base up in the Golan, doing everything from folding maps for tank drivers to painting the captain's quarters to painting bathrooms. when then the last base that I worked at 5 times, it's called, it's at Tel Shamir Hospital, and that it's called Matzrah, and at that base, it's a medical supply base, and it's the most important base in the country. That's where all of the medicines and supplies are packed and sent not only with Israeli soldiers, but also for IsraAid. I don't know if you're familiar with IsraAid, but that is the Hasbara organization that goes all over the world when there's disasters, from Bangladesh to Haiti. In fact, I think IsraAid is still working in Haiti. They worked in Los Angeles recently with the pandemic at the food bank. So this job at the medical supply base is one of the most important jobs there is. So I guess now I would like to show you some pictures of my volunteer time. Let's see, okay. Okay, can you see it?
Yeah, we can see it. And then if you want to go full screen on those slides, you had on top that drop down. Wasn't there a way to go full screen on your slides?
Open with Google Slides?
Yeah.
It didn't.
It didn't?
No.
It's another tab. You see the tab over there?
Okay.
No, to the right. Above that, to the right.
Above that, to the right. I only see me on.
Go up. I see your mouse right under Google Slides. Above it. Above that. There you go.
Oh, it didn't.
I'll be able to convert. Okay, so then just do it with what you were doing.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. Okay, you see the present on top?
Okay, I'm gonna have to move.
Sure. No, there you go. Present, that one.
I have to move this.
No,
Okay.
That's gonna present. Click on that, yeah. Present from beginning. Perfect.
Thank you, Rabbi. Okay, one of the great jobs of going into volunteer with the Israeli army is that we get a turn if we like to raise the Israeli flag. Every morning we get up about 7 o'clock, have breakfast, get together to get the morning news. We raise the flag, we sing Hatikva, we go clean up our rooms, and then we go off to work by 8 o'clock or 8:15. This is a picture from the base that I worked at in 2011. There are people from all over the world. I see somebody here from Spain, another fellow from the Netherlands, and from all over the United States. And some of these people I've worked with for a very long time. This was, we were working on, I forgot what that job was, but we were working on these bars. I don't remember what we were doing there. Here we were sorting bulletproof vests by size, and if they were damaged, they went into another pile. I was power washing these things that I think that go on trucks. This was, I see somebody from Italy that I worked with in Rome, in fact, who I saw years later when I was in Italy for Passover. We were organizing fire extinguishers, and what always happens is everything falls off. More sorting. Of course, we get to experiment with the equipment. Climbing into trucks is always fun for somebody like me. Relaxing, waiting for the next job, or getting, as we call it, a hapsaka, taking a break. This is, we were up in the Golan. We were in charge of cleaning up a memorial for soldiers. We had to take out the weeds and sweep up the leaves and make it all nice so for the families to come to the memorial, the ones that have lost their children in the IDF. It's hanging out. The gal with the sunglasses, she's from Brazil. I still keep in touch with her. There she is again. And there's Ray taking a nap. This is an example of our lunch. We always got meat for lunch if you chose to have meat. Otherwise, you could have vegetarian entree. And for breakfast, it was eggs. And for dinner, it was lots of carbohydrates like rice and pizza. These are example of salads, and sour cream and cottage cheese for breakfast. This is breakfast. One time, yeah, we got those thin little omelets with choco. Here we are playing around on a truck. This is, we got a ride back to our quarters from where we were working out in the field. If we were on a base that had tanks, we were able to learn about the tanks. The commander on the base would teach us about the tanks, and we were able to climb inside and see what goes on. I even had a job of cleaning inside a tank. Here's where we were sorting tools, labeling things that I had power washed, painting, a lot of painting. Painting a bathroom, which, as you could see, I don't even do this at home. Taking out the weeds at the memorial field I told you about, where they were getting ready for a memorial service. Here we were out in the middle of the desert sorting ammo shells. It was very hot, needless to say. And we had to be far away because there was some live ammunition in there. Painting with my friend Ray, helping me out. Sorting mattresses. So you see an example of the kind of mattresses that we would sleep on in our sleeping quarters. This is an example of where the soldiers live. We had painted all the doors here and the railing. So that's living quarters. My bed, and above my bed was all my stuff, but sometimes there might be 8 people in a room. So you never know where you're going to store your stuff. Another example of a room. This is evening activity. Like I said before, we had lots of opportunities to learn all different kinds of things, slang words in Hebrew, to what all the different color berets mean in the Army. They bring in speakers. Here we are on a field trip at the Israeli Air Force Museum in Beersheba. This was a field trip to the Dead Sea. Got to go there twice with Sar-El. This was and we're hot. It was in a Bedouin village. We were learning about, we were in something called a peace tent, and we were learning about the cohesion between the Arabs and the Israelis in this community. And the person to my right is my daughter lying there. This was a field trip we got taken to a pool where the soldiers and family members would go. It was all rocky in the bottom. It was really kind of cool. And the water was freezing, but we had a great time. It was super hot that summer. Another field trip to En-Gedi. Here's when I was working at the tank base where I had to clean inside the tank. and a nice soldier. We also could, in the evening or towards the end of the 3 weeks that we're there, we bring in pizza and share it with the soldiers, and they really loved it. And it's a nice way to build camaraderie with the soldiers. Sometimes you get to work with soldiers, sometimes you work with civilians working for the Army, but it's nice to be with them. This is when I worked at a base up in the Golan, and they gave us medals for doing the work. They were so happy. They threw us a party and did a beautiful spread, and it was really exciting. This is a picture from my first group back in 2010. And that's the last slide. Playing with ammunition. And I'm back. So there's an example of like the medal that I got at that base with the general. And they always have a ceremony when you first start. You get, you wear your Army jacket. You have to wear Army clothes, and the jackets have epaulets, and they give us these. So we have to wear these all the time in case somebody is unsure of whether we're a volunteer or not. And at the end of the time that we're there, they give us a pin, a Sar-El pin. And then we always get a something to thank us for coming. The soldiers cannot believe that we would spend this kind of money and come and be with them. And the purpose of the program is to give them hope and know that they're not fighting this war alone, and that we're there for them.
Questions, or you have more? You tell me.
I love any questions.
So first of all, I think before anyone starts with their questions, and I know there will be some in the chat, but before that, what is the way that you would sign up for this? If someone, let's say, was watching today, and are there age restrictions, things that people should know if they are interested in this?
Okay, their age restrictions are 17 to 90. If you're a little older, they would probably put you at Matzrop, which is the medical supply base, and a lot of the jobs you can sit. To sign up, I can give you the link and you can send out, or we could put it up on Facebook later, but it's VFI-USA.org. That stands for Volunteers for Israel. And it is chock filled with information. And then there's rules on the base. You're not allowed to talk politics because we don't want anybody to have any fights. And we don't talk about religion either. 2/3 of the volunteers are Jewish, but people come from their church groups. They come from all over, from different places in life. So you really meet a big variety of people.
And I see that first of all, it's really nice to see that there are a number of volunteers on here wearing their different clothing. I see Janet Lotman made a comment in the chat as well. She's wearing her hat, but she also made a comment about it. Here are some of the questions in the chat. Would you like me to read them to you, or would you rather read them yourself?
No, you can read them.
Okay. So one of the questions was from Pinky, can you choose where you would like to work? In other words, you said there are a number of different ways that they use the volunteers. Are you able to request a specific?
You can't, but let's say, Pinky, you wanted to come with me. Okay. And I would tell the coordinator for the program, Pinky's would like to work at the base with me. That's about as much as you can ask for. But if somebody didn't have a lot of mobility and wanted to work at the base Matzrop, then I think you could request that. But pretty much everything else it's up for grabs, really, depending on where the needs are too.
Does so in the sense of volunteering, you just mentioned groups, is there 30 people at a time, or they could have 100 and split you into groups?
No, most of the time, like at Montserrat, they could have 30 something people at once, but I've been in groups with 12 people up to 30 something people. It just depends on where you're going, how much work is there, how many weeks people stay. So I always do a 3-week program, but you could do a 2-week program. Some people do 3 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 weeks. They just keep staying on.
Wow. Is it fast track for citizenship if you do that?
We have seen people that have tried to, well, the program coordinator in Israel, she's tried to help many become citizens if they can prove they're Jewish.
We'll have it. Okay, so here are some more questions. This from Judy Bernstein. How many times have you participated in this program?
I've participated 8 times. And I just saw a question that came up. Did my daughter went 2 times with me, and then she had to get a job and work in the summer.
Okay, and I know you mentioned Ray is on here and he's been doing it since 2003, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I mean, there are people who have been doing it for many years. That's amazing.
Yes.
Marcia wanted to know, do they provide all the military clothing?
They provide all the clothing when you first get there on Sunday. After you eat lunch, you go to the warehouse to get fitted for your jacket and pants, and that is your outfit for 3 weeks. Some choose to wash it after a week, some just wear it for 3 weeks. But you cannot take it off the base. It remains property of the Israeli Army base.
Okay, and then Judy wants to know, did you feel any of the duties were too strenuous? Because you had mentioned earlier it was hot doing the tank shells.
Yeah, it was, if something was too hard for somebody, they could find you another spot and another place to work.
That same day.
Yeah.
Okay. What about husband and wife doing it together? Is that common?
I've met a few couples that have gone together. There are separate living quarters for men and for women, so they could be together on the weekends, and of course, during the day, working, eating meals together, just not for sleeping.
Okay, next question. This is good information. How many hours a day do you have to work? In other words, I know you said there's trips, speeches, lectures, breaks. How many hours a day?
So we work from 8 o'clock till noon. Then we have lunch from noon to 1 or 1:30, depending if you'd like to go to the Bet Knesset for minyan after lunch. Um, and then you work until 4 or 4:30. Each base has its own kind of schedule. And then after 4:30, you can shower, rest, and then we eat dinner at 5:45. Then we have an evening program at 7 that lasts for an hour, and then people usually just hang out and talk, and some go back to their rooms and read. Generally, the first week you don't get a field trip, but the second week and third week you could get a field trip for one day or a half a day.
But they're taking you on those trips.
Yes.
And you said the food is not something you go for.
No, I always lose weight. It's great to go on a diet over there.
Got you. And then, okay, Marcia's asking, how many weeks is the program?
Depending on when you go, there is a schedule on the VFI website. Most programs are 3 weeks, but if you can only work for 2, they will gladly take you. There are even some 1-week programs throughout the year. And recently they started another program called VFI Plus, which will add on an archaeological tour. You can tour, they'll take you around Israel for a week. So you're like working together for a week on a base, and then you go off and tour around Israel.
Wow. And I know you mentioned, this is just another point, that this is expenses paid on your own, correct?
Yes, everybody has to find their way there. Find your way to the airport on Sunday morning. We meet in the arrivals hall. So if you came in on Friday or Thursday and you were sleeping in Tel Aviv, you had to get back to the airport with your stuff. And then the Army takes you by bus to your base. And then on Thursday afternoons, they bring you to a central bus station or train station or the hostel. There is a hostel that's in Yaffo that is free, and it's kind of like the same kind of housing, that you have on the Army base where there's women's floors and men's floors. And there is some food provided there, and that's free. So if you can get a spot in there and you can't spend any money touring or doing anything else on the weekends, you could go and stay at Bet Odette.
Okay, so here's two more questions. One person wrote that it's $100 you have to pay to the base. Is that correct?
Yes, it actually goes to the program, to Volunteers for
Okay.
Israel.
Okay. And then what did you do on the weekends?
I always went to Tel Aviv because it's my favorite city in the whole world. Love hanging out on the beach and meeting friends like Ray at Carmel Market for coffee and shopping. And then on the weekends, we go to dinner with groups. Everybody is always like, what are you doing this weekend? Where are you going to be? And we make plans together. Oh, you're going to be in Tel Aviv. Let's meet for dinner. Some people take the train and go to Jerusalem for the weekend, or they go up to Haifa, or it depending on even where you're working. Like the one base I was up in the Golan, people did trips, up north. Or if you're in Beersheba and you want to go do something different. So there's as long as you get to the train station and get someplace before Shabbat and come back Sunday morning to, by usually 9:30 to wherever the Army bus is, then you can go and enjoy.
And are they strict, like drill sergeant strict?
Our bosses,
Yes.
well, some are more strict than others. And it depends on the product you're working on. Like one time I was making morphine kits, and I was done with the task of packaging them, and I left the warehouse, and I got yelled at because you're not supposed to leave morphine sitting out there. So, I mean, if they're going to yell at you, it's for the right reason. But most of the time, they're so grateful and they're very happy that you're there. And we do a lot of work. They're always surprised at how much work we can get done.
Okay, so Sue, Janet Lotman wants you to talk about either, I guess they're madrichot or something.
Yes. Okay.
That are like your mothers over there or something.
Yes, these are our 18, 19, 20-year-old mothers. Each group usually gets 2 madrichot or counselors, and they're adorable soldiers, and they're there to answer all of your questions. And if you need toilet paper, they're the ones that you go to. If you don't like your working conditions, they're the ones that you go to. They also run the evening activities at night. So it's their job to teach us something new. And they work during the day while we're working. And they are walking around to all the work sites to make sure everybody is happy, that everybody's drinking enough water. They're planning their evening activities. And I think they take a lot of naps too. It's a pretty cushy job.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Now, before you go, there's another question in the chat. Before you head to Israel, do you already know what base you'll be on, or that's once you get there?
Once I get there. But I do, since I've been going so often, I do try to coordinate with friends that we want to be together wherever we're going to be. And if you don't have friends, you just want to go, and I mean, that's what happened with me. I mean, I didn't coordinate at all. The first time I went with my daughter, I didn't even want to be on the same base as her. I wanted her to be with young people. In the summer, they have what's called the International Youth Program. So you can work with people that are 17 to 25. So my daughter worked at a base in Eilat, and I was in Beersheba, and then we met on the weekends.
Okay, now here's another, I guess, important question. Do you need a physical from a doctor before you're accepted into the program?
Yes, you must take a form to your doctor and make sure to get clearance that you can, lift 20 pounds and you're mentally in good shape as well as physically. Yeah, that's required every year. And the other thing they require you to do is to get insurance. So if your current insurance does not work overseas, you have to get a policy that works for when you travel abroad, and you have to show proof that you bought a policy.
These are great questions. If anyone has a question that did not put this into the chat, please do either type it in there or unmute your microphone. But while they're doing that, It's really amazing. For you, I see a number of the people on here that are volunteering for Israel through Sar-El or have. Thank you. That's just an amazing.
If you know, I'll tell you, Rabbi, that it took me a few years to realize how meaningful it was. I mean, it's one thing, you know, you can write a check to an organization and it feels good, but to actually get your hands dirty and do something and help your homeland is amazing. But then after a few years, I realized for me, it became cathartic. Like I just needed to decompress because I'm so involved in the community and I love being able to just be someplace. I don't have to tell somebody what to do. I get told what to do. It's really refreshing. And you know, and it's nice. My husband will go fishing and do his thing, and I do my thing, and it's a really great experience.
That really is. And you have a question. This is a more relevant to recent events. Is this program on pause because of the coronavirus?
Yes, right now they're not accepting volunteers through the end of June. And I'm waiting to see when they are going to open up. As most of you probably know, Israel has done a really fantastic job of managing the coronavirus, and I'm sure they want to keep it that way. I mean, I just saw an article before I clicked on to here that they're put the kids that it's so hot they don't want to wear the masks, so this school is going to be postponed for a little bit until it's less hot because it's so hard to breathe with the masks.
That's in Israel?
Yes.
Wow.
So I don't know. I mean, and we live in close quarters. I mean, I'm sharing a bathroom with 20 other women, so it's not. I'm sure they're good. I don't know. I hear that maybe they'll open in October.
Okay, and that's actually probably answering one of the questions that came up. This is all year round or just in the summer?
All year round.
Okay, so that's
They
a good
can give you
question.
jackets if it's
Too cold.
cold. They'll give you blankets, but you're supposed to bring your own sheets and pillow and towels to go.
Wow, quite amazing. Any other questions? Does anyone have a question? Please do feel free to share it while you are formulating your question, if you do have one. Just to share some of the more upcoming events or daily virtuals that we have. And this is today is Sue Adatto, which is pretty amazing. Thank you. Tomorrow we're having Rabbi Bonnie Kopel. She is a retired U.S. Army chaplain. I think she did over 38 years or 37 years in the Army. 38 is the correct number. So she'll share about her experiences. And one of the things I actually found out while I was researching for her little blurb in our email is that there were only at a certain point 2 female chaplains in the Jewish chaplains. I don't know about other chaplains in the entire U.S. Armed Forces. So we're talking about Navy, Air Force, all of the different departments. On Wednesday is a friend of mine from Tucson. She is the Rebbitzin at Chabad of Tucson, Fagit Saitlin, who is doing a cooking presentation on gravlax, 2 ways. On Thursday is a jewelry presentation by Brenton, who is the owner of House of Diamonds. That is going to be a process of how to make custom jewelry, but as well, the Q&A is any question you have about jewelry. So current market, questions you have maybe about the precious metals industry. On Friday is Sander Nassin, who many of you may know, who will be playing some Soul Strings music. On next week, so currently there is nothing planned for Memorial Day, although there is a possibility that we will have a presenter or a presentation, a musical presentation by a person known as T.A. Burrows, but that is not in our email because originally he wanted to do it in June, but possibly he'll do Memorial Day. And then on the 26th, which is Tuesday, we have 2 artists, Janet Russick and David Scheinbaum, who are going to speak about their book, which was called Remnants, Photographs of the Lower East Side. They'll share pictures that are in that book, talk about the integral part of that Jewish history of the Lower East Side of Manhattan. And then on Wednesday, we have a presentation by Steve Meyer's son-in-law. So if you know Steve and Arlene Meyer, their son-in-law is a sports, media, entertainment industry VIP experience, how to celebrate and enjoy sports in the truest of fashions. He is going to talk about where the media, the sports and entertainment industries are heading with the coronavirus and all the changes. He's actually currently the host of a podcast that is all about success and entertainment. It is called How Success Happens. That's his podcast that he's doing, but it's really fascinating to learn more about him as well. Are there any other questions for Sue? I think that was a fascinating presentation. I wouldn't be shocked if we had a number of volunteers because of this in the next year.
I hope you guys come and join me. I put up the website on the chat.
Okay, I see that.
And if anybody ever wants to call me or email me, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to answer any questions and help you find your way to Israel and volunteer.
Thank you, Sue. And I want to just mention, since someone asked this privately to me, all of these are recorded. So if you want to see Sue again, you can find it in 2 different places online. One is on our Facebook page, and we do upload this as well to our YouTube channel. So that is on YouTube. Just search Smile on Seniors. You'll find a playlist of all these virtual gatherings. And on Facebook, if you just go to the Smile on Seniors page, there's a tab for videos. So you can watch this one. You can watch any of the past ones as well. And thank you, Sue. If anyone has any last questions for her, please do share them currently and now. If not, Sue, you're welcome to stay on because we schmooze for those of us who have time.
Sure.
This is one of the beautiful things about the virtual gatherings is you get to see friends and chat.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I'm going to officially and formally say thank you. And for every one of you, thank you again. I see that Janet Lotman might go back because of this.
Yay!
It's been fabulous, Sue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sue, this is a long shot,